Welcome back to another episode of What About Dat? My name's Adair, and with the help of my friend Jen, we'll be going over Wynonna Earp, episode 210, I See a Darkness. So sit back, relax, and ask yourself, hey, what about that? Alright, so this episode's awesome. There was a lot put into it. Once again, Emily just jam-packed this episode. It's just like mind-boggling. I had a beer, I drank a lot watching the show because I was like, my mind, it's just so much going on. Let's get into this cold open. Oh my goodness. So we have Nicole answering the door, not looking through a peephole, just assuming it's Waverly, which is heartbreaking in its own right. And it turns out to be Mercedes' widow, which,
You don't want that.
Nobody wants that showing up to their door. Unless it has a box of Girl Scout cookies. I wouldn't answer that. It's true. Nicole should have treated the Black Widow like the Jehovah's Witness and just like acted like she wasn't home. That's all I'm saying. This is what there should have been, some kind of peephole or some kind of curtain or something. Anyways,
she thought it was Waverly.
I know,
but it just wasn't.
It was not.
Yeah.
I can't actually wait for the crack videos to come out just on that moment, because it's gonna just be people like surprise motherfucker, just like small. It's gonna be funny. Anyways, that fight was awesome. Seeing Nicole like, what's happening? She's like, what the hell? I don't have your damn seal. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what the heck? And I love the fact that she could still be funny. The one thing I love about all these characters, in the face of adversity or like hard times, they go to jokes to help them get by. And the fact that Nicole was like, I'm not really I'm an IKEA girl. I'm not really like an antiques girl. It's like, that was pretty funny, and can we just, I literally had a physical response to Waverly breaking the stick over her knee and getting in fighting position.
Did you actually grab your pearls?
I clutched my pearls and I grabbed my ankles. I'm not gonna lie.
You gotta squeeze your ankles.
Squeeze my ankles. Either way, man. I also got a lot of what's her name? Kathy. Not Kathy. What's her name? From Legends of Tomorrow, playing White Canary. Very much that White Canary feel when she did that, because they do kind of the same move. I was just like, eat, like I squid a little bit internally. I really did. I was like, oh, she about to get her ass whooped. Yes, Jesus. And then Waverly continued to completely bash in the Black Widow. So mazel tov for good training. Something that was weird for me in this fight, though. I mean, Nicole got her head bashed in, which we're going to have to go get that checked out, because poor girl's got her head bashed in almost every other episode, season 2. She might start having brain damage, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was thinking about that very thing. She was in the hospital now twice for some pretty intense beat-ups.
I mean, at least she's strong, but like, good Lord, woman.
Yeah, last season it was the shot in the stomach. This season it's the salamander bite or the kimono dragon bite.
Right?
From the Black
Well,
Widow.
then you also have to remember Waverly bashed her head in too when she was Gooverly. And, the poor child's just really getting her ass kicked multiple times. Oh, and then the Scarecrow whooped her ass through some glass, a pane of glass, and flung her. Like, poor child is literally the strongest human being in the entire cast of folks, because you don't see everybody just getting their behind whooped every other episode. She's strong for her. Good for her. She really is.
Yeah, I kept, like I was saying earlier, I kept wondering how they were going to go, because I watched the promo and I kept wondering what was going to put Nicole in the hospital, what was going to put her out. And when I first saw the fight and I saw Waverly become involved in the action, I was a little surprised, because it was mostly Waverly versus Mercedes kicking ass, and so I was like kept waiting for that moment, because I knew it was going to happen where something was going to happen to incapacitate Nicole,
Yeah.
So I kept waiting for that, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all. I was so surprised by the bite. I mean, we've seen the Mercedes, the widows. We've seen the widows bite other people. They bit Tucker and in the arm, and I guess that really puts
Juan Carlo.
And Juan Carlo.
Yeah.
So that really kind of now starts to make sense. Last episode, we saw Tucker get the bite, and I was like, that's just an arm bite. We don't know what's going to happen. But now we know what happens. You get poisoned, and it kills you really quickly.
Also with Tucker, Emily flat out said in an interview that Beth Widow ate him. Like, he got eaten. So, yeah. But another thing that I noticed about this fight scene, Nicole, yeah, she got, obviously her ribs kicked in and her head bashed in, but she was like crawling as though her legs didn't work. And I was like, you can get up. And so they were crawling, and then she was trying to get the gun, but she was crawling so slowly during this fight. I'm like, you are like 6 foot something and you're crawling as though the house is that big. And so instead of you can hop over a couch, but you can't grab your gun. I was like, that was weird to me.
Yeah, I felt like there was a disconnect in the fighting between the actual physical injury she sustained. She's the bigger of the two girls, and can't move her legs. I actually noticed that as well. she's temporarily experiencing paralysis due to a kick in the stomach.
I just kept hearing the Ed Sheeran, or is it Ed Sheeran's like, when your legs don't work like they used to before. But like, yeah, no, so that happened, and then the bite, I mean, that just seemed painful. God, like, good job on the acting. And Danny, I forget her last name, but her first name is Danny, who plays Mercedes. Oh man, she's so good. She's so good as Mercedes' widow. Like, and I like the fact that both of the girl who plays Beth, I don't know her name at the top of my head, but they have such different takes on the widows. And she's more spidery because she's dying. She's more desperate. She got shot by Wynonna's gun, and it didn't kill her, but it definitely wounded her, and that's why her face is coming off and she's ailing. But I find it fascinating that she's more desperate and angry, and it's like, I like that desperation on that widow's face. Also, I like the fact that she kind of does have Mercedes humor in a way, because when she bites Nicole, for whatever reason, she finds out that Nicole's telling the truth. Like, I guess tasting her blood, she can tell. And she's like, you really don't have it. Oh, well, this is awkward.
I think that's just like Emily's snarkiness. She can't go a scene without it.
No, 100%. And I thought it was like, but at the same time, I thought it was great because it still felt kind of like Mercedes would have done that. So whatever entity has taken over her, thing, kind of learned from her personality. If she can find out that Nicole, through a bite, wasn't lying, taking Mercedes' face, I'm sure, processed a little bit of their personality or whatever. But it was so sweet and so sad, though, when she bit her, because I don't think people realize that, yes, she got bit, and that's also dangerous, but she got bit in the freaking, like, wrist where, like, people try to kill themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because they know they'll bleed out. So she wasn't only, like, getting bit and there's poison coursing through her. She got bit and she's losing massive amounts of blood, And I don't know, it was so sad, and it was just such a good opening. I was like, y'all already giving us a heart attack, and we are literally 2 minutes in. So anything else you want to say about that opening before we start getting into even more ridiculousness?
Well, I thought it really, like I said, did a good job connecting the previous episode to this, the current episode, by just jumping right into the action. I think that I really enjoyed the performance from Waverly, because I just thought, like, her response was I just thought her response was so primal. And we've seen her training, in past episodes, so it was really cool to see her applying her knowledge in terms of what she's learned towards an enemy. And I thought that this whole episode, I kept looking at Mercedes and looking at that, like, pustular, matted hair.
Like the worst.
I could not stop staring at that thing the entire episode. I just wanted to, like, move it or give her a napkin to clean it. But I know it's gonna stay that way. But I liked the analogy that the bite was like a kimono dragon, and I really liked that the actress encompassed that animal in her movements. Like, she added that to her performance, and you can really start to see it in her desperation.
Yeah, I mean, they're Black Widows, so she's definitely getting into that, like I said, that kimono, that spider feel, and I find
Predator,
it
yeah.
very much so. And I might as well mention it now because I thought it was really cool. And we always talked about on Supergirl, like, the costumes and stuff, but this is the first time that I'm like, all right, costume department, good for you. The whole thing is they are spiders, and that's their thing. They're spiders. They have venom. They can, knock you incapacitated or paralyze you because that's what spiders do. And because Mercedes Widow is injured, she is desperate. She's angry, but she is in her costume. She's in her Black Widow outfit because she's dying as a spider. Like, she's turning into a spider. Her butt in the back, they made the plume of the skirt.
It made it a lot bigger, yeah.
They made it a lot bigger. She's turning way more into a spider. Now, with Beth Widow, Beth is still wearing normal clothing. She still looks normal. She's not injured. She's still healthy. So she can still act as though she's human, or she can still use that to her advantage, so she doesn't need to be dressed like a Black Widow, And I thought that was really interesting, the two ideas of, Beth is more methodical and is taking her time and is being more of a stalking predator as opposed to a actionary like Mercedes. Mercedes is like, I'm gonna bash your head and I'm gonna kill you and that's what's gonna happen. Mercedes is like, oh sweetie, that's cute, I'm gonna get to you a different way. And because they're not sisters, as Beth says in the episode, they're different people, and they have different ways of handling it. And it's kind of interesting to see that Beth, it's kind of like the tortoise and the hare. She's taking her time and she's winning the race as far as the two widows are concerned. I thought that was fantastic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I think that's like all that I was like. I felt like that opening really brought us right into the action, and seeing Nicole being wheeled into the hospital. I felt like it was kind of like we've been there before with Nicole. We've been in a hospital with her again, and there was definitely, I got from the character Waverly a larger sense of dread, like, here we go again. And I kind of like, you talked about it yourself, that there was a specific tone to this episode, and I definitely felt that, where the tone changed and the stakes were high, and you have this really heavy Nicole Waverly episode, and in the moment that she's being brought in, Waverly is feeling just like some really intense feelings because of last week and the repercussions, the consequences of her actions. She's seeing them, and I just thought that was a really powerful scene.
Yeah, going into the hospital, I actually like the fact that we don't cut directly to Nicole getting wheeled in, but it's Wynonna taking the moment to say sorry to Mercedes. Like, the thing is, Mercedes is actually still alive. She is a real human who had this done to her. Her brother turned on her, all kinds of stuff happened. So the fact that Wynonna, we see her actually have a friend, and Mercedes was her friend, and she's really upset, and she goes in there and tries to do the best that she can, which is crack jokes about a terrible situation. So she's like, hey, this kind of sucks, but at least you get a day to, rest or whatever. And he's like, yeah, she was depleted and has no nutrients. And Wynonna goes, yeah, and her face is gone. Like,
She was a bit heartless in this episode.
Well, not even heartless, but I think because she knows Mercedes and knows the kind of humor she has, she goes, oh yeah, she'd think that was funny. Like, if she was standing here watching this, she'd probably make the same tasteless jokes because that's who they are. And that's why Wynonna feels terrible, and, she's watching her friend just have like zero face. I wonder how they're going to handle that. Who knows? Mercedes might die of her injuries now, I guess, but I think it'd be really fascinating to have a different actress come in and play Mercedes, like, because it'd be a different person. I don't know. That'd be fascinating. But I really appreciated the fact that they took the moment to acknowledge that Wynonna knows what happened to Mercedes now.
Yeah, they closed that little bookend right up.
I thought that was nice. And then to go, you hear, Waverly screaming, and she's like, she's not breathing because, once again, she's losing massive amounts of blood, and to have that moment where she sees the blacksmith's sister, that moment she's like, she's not even thinking, oh, you can cure her. She's thinking, what the heck are you doing here? Oh, that's her sister. And then she's like, oh my God, Nicole, and I think Dominic did such an amazing job at the fear that you see when when Nicole is being willed into the room, because he's like, okay, you can't go in, she's not family, she's not, and it kind of does harken a little bit of that issue about, why people were fighting for gay marriage and things like, if my partner is sick, who am I who am I? And this is kind of an underlying thing where it's like, no, she hasn't said I love you, she hasn't said this, but that's what's even hurting her further. She's like, I just want to be at her side, and I'm not even allowed to right now, and turning to Wynonna to cry, it was such a good moment,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really was. I felt like the scene where we get, Wynonna's telling her, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to find the cure for you, you stay here, take care of her, someone needs you, and she's like delegating tasks for everybody, and they kind of have like a little bit of a powwow, and then it's up to her to kind of like stay back in the hospital, and she realizes that's kind of like where she needs to be / wants to be, and that she's going to put her number one faith into Wynonna, and that's like she's gonna put all her trust, because she has such love for this woman, that she's gonna like impart this really intense trust onto her sister, someone who within the recent past was somebody she kind of like really didn't know at all. So it just shows you how far she's come, where she's able to give Wynonna such a huge task of finding the cure for this venom.
Yes, I think at this moment she was kind of, I don't know, I kind of have a little bit of different take on it, because she is in panic mode. She mentions the fact that she cheated. She mentions, she's like, we're in the middle of a fight. You can't die when you're in the fighting. And oh my God, I cheated. And then it hits her like, oh my God, if she dies, I'm like, that's the last thing I did. I'm such a terrible person. And, and then she's kind of guilty about that. And then when Wynonna comes and says, we got this, trust us, she nods her head like yes. But so far in almost both of the seasons, Waverly hasn't really trusted Wynonna. I mean, she will give her the benefit of the doubt. She will go along with it, but she doesn't. She'll trust Wynonna with her life, but I don't think she really trusts Wynonna with other people's lives. She didn't really, trust her with saving Nicole. Like, in the first season, Waverly makes some pretty interesting choices for Nicole. Give her Peacemaker so that she doesn't shoot Nicole, and Willa shoots Nicole anyways, even if she gave it to her. So now the heroine doesn't have her number one prize, but Waverly was able to convince her to get rid of it to save her love. This episode's kind of no different, but in that moment, I didn't really feel like she truly trusted her, but I thought she was going to go on for it, because she's like, okay, you have the seal. Wait, what? You have the seal? So she already feels betrayed again because she was left out. It just kept kind of piling on how much you can trust somebody when people are keeping secrets, and I think with this episode, that was a huge, huge part of the show. The theme this episode was trust. Trust in the power of love, as Emily says. Trust in your family. Do you trust your coworkers? Do you trust your unit? The thing is, there's so much trust that did not happen in this episode, and it made everything worse. So from that particular moment of her going, trust us, she's like, okay, it didn't feel as trustworthy. She's walking the walk, but she doesn't talk the talk, she didn't talk the talk, but because when Waverly goes outside, the next scene, she's confronted by Beth Widow, and she's like, oh, I'm never going to turn on Wynonna. I would never do that. You must be smoking crack, pretty much. And just as callously as she can, she goes, well, you better start getting a casket. I don't know, about yay high, and it's like, I think that was the first time Waverly actually heard in her head, Wynonna's not going to save this,
I think from the moment I knew that answer to curing Nicole was to break the third seal. I think from that moment, I kind of already knew how this episode was going to end. I think that inwardly, if you know this character Waverly and you know how much she has this love for Nicole, so if you know that's the option that she's presented with, box A, wait for Wynonna, box B, find the seal, give it to Beth, she'll give you a venom cure. I just as soon as that became the option, I knew that's the option she was going to end up choosing, and that she was going to end up kind of jumping the gun. And the whole episode was really about her choice, between these two paths. And one of the things that I kept thinking the entire time was the stakes were that you break the third seal, you unleash post-apocalyptic hell, right? So that's what has been established, that we know what's going to happen, right? And in the last episode, they talked about Wynonna herself, toyed with the idea of breaking this seal. So I feel like they kind of played with this idea, foreshadowed this idea, and as soon as as soon as we were in the middle of the action of this episode, I really had a larger sense that this idea was going to be brought forth by Waverly. So this is really kind of we're getting closer to this larger finale, and by the end of this larger finale, I absolutely, completely, 1,000% know in my bones that we're going to have the seal broken, the evil guy Crudy resurrected, and we're gonna be seeing this team have to come together. We discussed this in actually the first podcast about how the team was going to have to come together to fight this larger enemy. And I think the only thing that really surprised me in this episode was the presence of the Iron Witch, and how that was going to be an additional obstacle that as a group they were going to have to confront. So I think for me, when I was watching this episode, I was really looking for the things that were surprises. Segue into the character of Shay and what we learned about Nicole. Just speak to it for a minute. I segued you so nicely.
Okay.
Just be when in Rome.
As far as this episode is concerned, it really, once again, is about trust. And that's the big theme of it. And going into the group dynamics and everything, and even to Nicole, it's she's on her... There's so much that's not said. We asked for Nicole backstory. We didn't expect this backstory, but we got it. And, having the surprise of, Shay be there, it's what? On top of everything else, Waverly has to kind of deal with this now and take it in stride. And she, right now, not even right now, she is the only one, and Nedley, but he's busy doing other stuff, who know that Nicole's married. So Waverly, once again, feeling alone, has to deal with that knowledge on her own. And it's who can I trust? Now, as far as... And I think she was shocked, to be quite. I mean, she was just what the... Okay. But I don't even think she was mad shocked. I think she was just of course. After so many bad things and weird things going... After a while, you just have to shrug your shoulders and go, okay, well, fine, let's roll with it. And I don't have time to deal with this because my girlfriend's dying. So, as far as... You're talking about the seals and how that's going to happen. How it was so predictable in a way. Now, I do believe it was predictable, obviously, because we know Cleety was coming back easily. I think Waverly created 3 issues. She tried to put her eggs in everybody's basket, which you would think is a great idea, except the baskets are full of shit. So we have the giving the seal to Beth Widow. We have going to the Iron Witch, knowing that the contract's going to be clad no matter what. That's not how you do a deal. You just go, all right, there's no negotiation, there's no nothing, just save her, and then you have to trust your family, your group to save her. She's like, okay, Wynonna, I'll trust you. Okay, Beth, I'll give you the seal. Okay, the Iron Witch, I'll make a deal with you. She did all of it at once, but none of it, the one that she should have just stuck with actually panned out. And I think because she didn't trust in her family, she doomed everybody. Waverly, in this show, she's the key to a lot of things. The widows say she's special. Bobo says she's special. Willa said she was special. Something's up with Waverly. She is the key. Nicole is special in some weird ass way, and we haven't figured that out yet. But Waverly is still very young and is so not trusting, and it's kind of not trustworthy either. Real quick, I want to slide into the fact that in her speech of, oh my God, we're fighting. Oh my God, we can't fight. I'm a cheater, which I'm glad she mentioned to them. She goes, oh, I kissed, Rosita. Everybody's surprised. And she goes, it's just a kiss. Wait a minute. You kissed her? She goes, oh yeah, and she's a revenant. Okay, I'm sorry. In your haste, you just told that woman's secret that wasn't yours to tell after she saved your life and you said you weren't going to say anything. No matter how hurt, now Rosita can't trust Waverly, and she thought she could. Also, Dolls was extremely untrustworthy in this episode. He's been really untrustworthy recently, and I don't know if anybody's picked up on that, but this is the first time I'm uncomfortable with Dolls. Doc, good for that guy. I mean, he's a little shady anyway, so whatever. I'm used to it, but having the Revenants in the bar. But yeah, anyways, the trust that Waverly doesn't have. She trusts Nicole, and then Nicole's like, by the way, I'm married, ha ha ha, which is absolutely ridiculous. But I don't know, it's a lot of lack of trusting that made everything worse.
I felt like so I want to speak to the reveal of Nicole's being married. We discover that in this episode, and basically I felt like I was kind of like laughing at that moment when she's brought into the hospital. They tell Waverly that they're gonna have to like sedate her or put her under because she's infected with this venom. They want to slow the venom down, keep her from dying, keep her out of pain, a lot of reasons. And basically, I thought it was really funny, the actor who kept injecting Nicole. It was just like he had it ready on hand, ready to shoot her up. He did it like twice. And we were talking about how this actor was like a background extra with no lines, because there were a couple of moments where you thought he was going to speak, but instead he just kind of like feigned away from the camera and answered a question without actually answering it. And that's how you can tell he's not like contracted as a speaking actor.
Yeah, he wasn't a featured role, because normally anytime you have characters like that, they'll have a max to be a featured role. For the most part, you have a max of 5 to 6 words that you get to say. If you meet the 5 to 6 word requirement,
I think it's 7 words.
I don't know. Every time I count, it's always like 5 or 6.
I heard
so it's like
7.
I love you. I remember seeing a thing going I love you, and I was like, oh, they got it. No, they didn't, because that was the only words they said. Or like I've seen it a few times. I was like, oh shit, he didn't get no words.
If you say any line more than 6 or maybe 7, I don't remember, but like if you say that, then they have to give you a contract for the day, a base contract that's like $900 for the day. So it's like
$900. That's a lot. No, it's not. It's less than that.
It is. Yeah, it is.
That's way less than that.
No,
especially for union. Yeah, it's a lot less than that.
I was pretty sure it's 9. They give you more. The contract.
Well, no, because if you're saying lines, if you're gonna come back as a featured guest, yes, you'll get more. But if you're a day player and you only have a day player is a person who literally gets to just play for the day. They're an actor who just comes in once. They're in and out. If that doctor, every time he came in, he had words, he'd probably get a lot more money. But if he just came in for whatever and only had the one sentence or said one thing, then he's only going to get maybe, especially if he's union, like $300. Like, that's it. I'm like, because right now, I would say day rate is probably like 2 something if you're doing lines, but not even. Because, like, once again, I was getting paid like what, $196 per hour, per 8 hours. So yeah, it's not going to be as much as 900, because that means you have a full contract. Like, because normally $1,000, you get paid $1,000 a week if you have a full contract working on a project. So 900 be excessive for a day player.
Okay, so I just thought that character actually felt like he should have had lines.
Oh yeah, he totally should have had lines.
He that was the one situation where you do kind of need that doctor to be like rattling off some analysis. Instead, we're just getting some hearsay. Oh, we don't know what the poison is. We can't help her. You know, and it's coming from second sources. And so I just felt like it needed a little bit more doctor jargon to make the scene more real for me.
True.
And then I felt like the arrival of the character Shay, Nicole's wife, was... When that happened, I was like, okay, hold on a hot sec. Nicole is in, like, a TV coma. Her estranged wife just showed up. Waverly's like, "Keh?" Suddenly I'm on the set of Jane the Virgin. And I'm watching Jane the Virgin, and all I'm waiting for is Nicole to wake up and to have, like, double amnesia. I just thought it got a little too telenovela, soap opera right then and there. And one of the things this show does well is that they'll introduce a character, and then you'll see them, and then we'll go back into later in episodes, they'll develop the character. And I think they did best with Jeremy this season. And so Shay now comes... I think in our last 3 episodes of the season, and so there's like a lot of splaining to do because it's like, who is this woman? Why should I care about her? And even though she gives us a lot of backstory about her and Nicole's quickie shotgun marriage, drunken shotgun marriage, Vegas marriage, but I feel like even though we get that backstory, I just can't visualize in my head Nicole ever dating this woman or caring about this woman. And even though that's probably the president, she doesn't. I just felt like it was too much information for me to have in this episode, on top of all of the crazy that Waverly was experiencing. It was like an obstacle that I didn't think was necessary for Waverly to have to experience, because I felt like the odds, the stakes were already so high, and that sometimes when you raise them to a certain level, it just kind of, like, the execution to me was a little bit novella-esque. And so that was my only thing about that character. And I didn't actually like the actress. She seemed really, really dry. And I don't know if it was the writing or her delivery, but she just had, like, some cheesy-ass things that she said. Like, I think the one time she sees, like, Waverly clearly distraught, she tells Waverly, "Oh, Nicole loves you more than anyone else." You know, there's a story behind that, but at the same time, I didn't love her delivery of any of her lines. Maybe I didn't take to her at all. She was just like a blank slate to me. Your thoughts?
Okay, so as far as Shay is concerned, yes, it was a super telenovela, but, like, I loved it. I liked the fact that it kind of shows who Nicole is. She was impulsive when she was younger, because you have to remember, Waverly and Nicole are probably, well, Nicole's probably like 23, max 24. Waverly's 21. So the fact that Nicole is married probably means she got married at 21, 22, something really young, you know what I'm saying? And then she moved away. So chances are, you know, yes, even though that is her wife, they probably didn't have enough money to get a divorce, or, you know, whatever, couldn't get annulled in time, whatever, you know. Nicole being in police academy for however long, then getting recruited, blah, 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 now she's in purgatory. So, I'm okay with it. I totally could see why Nicole would be with that girl. If you think about, Nicole dates smart women. Waverly is super, super smart. You know, kind of a scientist, a historian, all this other stuff. So she likes the smarts. And, you know, I would say they're about the same height. So there's that. Rock climbing, being spontaneous. And also, it kind of showcases that Nicole still gets hurt, even depending on who she's with. Because she's over here rock climbing, had to get surgery. Poor child. She's just way stronger than we give her credit for.
Nicole is the Bella Swan of this world. Because in all of the Twilight, Bella Swan was always falling off cliffs and getting concussions and shit.
I suppose,
It's
but like,
just
I know, it's like, girl, get your shit together. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, get your balance. But I love the fact that she's strong and she got through it. And yeah, like she said, Shay says, it was a Britney Spears concert. We were drunk. We saw drunk Nicole. And, you know, I like you. You're so pretty. And I like you so much. You know, I bet that kind of came out during we should get married. This is going to be a great idea. And then going. Sorry, now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of laugh Oh, that's actually really funny because at Klexicon, they were in Vegas, and one of the audience members said, hey, if Waverly and Nicole woke up married in Vegas, what would they say? What would they say that morning? And they did like a little act out, and they're like, oh, this is cool. And it's funny because they already knew that was going to be a storyline. Just not between them.
We're just screwing with people.
Which I think is really ironic and kind of funny now that I think about it. But you were talking about how the doctor didn't have any lines, and you wish there was more doctor jargon. I find it fascinating that they gave all the doctor jargon to the featured extra, who was Shay, or featured actress, who was Shay, so that she's like, oh, no, she needs propofol, she's allergic to this, and you need to give her a few cc's. Oh, I went and read her EKGs, and she was giving out all the doctoring.
She was Grey's Anatomy.
She was being a Grey's Anatomy person because, that she's the doctor and show that she's smart. And I think that was interesting. As far as like her deliveries and stuff, I wasn't neither here nor there with them. I was like, whatever, I got it. I think what's fascinating and what's important for us to know, Nicole has talked to her wife, or ex-wife technically wife, but emotionally ex-wife, about Waverly. To me, that for me is kind of a setup of their future of, Nicole going, this might be the girl I end up with. I need to tell this person I'm legally married to that we got to figure something out. There's a lot of people who get married for different reasons. Some money, some are in the military and they need that and this. And hey, if I'm married, I get a little bit more extra money. They said they were drunk. But to stay married, some people might be like, oh, well, we can divorce a little bit. The paperwork didn't go through or something went weird. So I'm not really worried about the fact that she's still married. But the fact that she tells the woman she's married to, look, I'm out here and I think I found the person I'm madly in love with, And even she acknowledges it was fun. We had a great time, but it wasn't right. But you, Waverly, you're right. You're what she loves. And I think that was important for her to say. I thought that it was important for Waverly to hear because she was feeling guilty, Mm-hmm. And she was feeling like, oh, I cheated, I did all sorts of, but I don't know. I just thought that was a really good moment. I did not dislike Shay. I don't know if she's going to necessarily be a character and come back. I
think she's going to be a character for sure.
I think they're going to have to talk about it. She might stay in town for a little bit. Like, that's always a thing that happens just to make sure she's healthy and to maybe get divorced. That might be something season 3. Who knows?
I feel like she could come back season 3 for sure.
Yeah, I think that I don't know if she'll be a regular, but I definitely can see her being a small 2-3 episode arc. And then piecing out,
Or maybe like someone who's in and out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's gonna be, depends on, we don't know where she's from. We don't know if it's like she got a job and living her life. Like, we don't know. She might be too busy for all that, being a doctor. But yeah, I thought it was cool. It was what it was. Oh, I need to mention this. I love this scene. I thought this was, painful and sad. I know everybody's like, Nicole ain't gonna die. Nicole ain't gonna die. When I see shows like this, or episodes that I know they're not gonna kill Nicole, but I'm gonna let myself be immersed in the sadness or the fear of it all. I'm gonna trust that she's not gonna kill a lesbian. Obviously, that's not gonna be a thing, but I want to see the journey. So watching Nicole come in and she's on fire, and Wynonna comes in, and Nicole just tells her, hey, listen for once, Earp. I don't want to be a burden, and I don't want my body on a machine. I need you to make this choice. I need you to, unplug me if it comes to it, because your sister's not going to let me go. And I thought that was like sad in itself, but she goes, you're the only one she'll forgive. And I thought that was so amazing because I'm like, yeah, Wynonna is the only one that Waverly will forgive for losing Nicole. She won't forgive herself, that's for sure. And she might be mad at Wynonna for a while, but she'll eventually, forgive her or whatever. And man, it's just like, that was such a hard scene to watch. And I thought that Kate did such an amazing job because she said it just very matter of fact. And then I thought, well, technically your wife, if you're still legally married, is the one making all the decisions. But I think knowing Wynonna, like, you take care of it, you let this happen, I think that would have happened anyways. But, man, I thought it was a good scene. I thought it was just kind of Wynonna taking the reins going, okay, all right, fine. I'll she's her friend. I like seeing right now Wynonna having friends. Nicole is her friend, whether she wants to truly admit it or not. She knows Waverly loves her. She knows she loves Waverly. And she kind of treats her like a sister-in-law, and not in the whole, oh, I hope they're married, but, like, that's how you're supposed to treat your sibling spouse, and I love that friendship and I love that relationship.
I think that was, like, really a beautiful scene that you're speaking to. I think for me, probably one of the scenes that was in the subplot that I felt was really powerful, which was one of my favorite scenes in this whole episode, a gem, was when the Wynonna first goes to Shorty's bar to have that conversation with Rosita, and she is talking to Rosita and tells her that she knows she's a reverend, and basically threatens her with the gun by pulling it out, and the gun starts to glow, and then tells her, you're gonna help Jeremy find this anti-venom, or else. There's a question mark at the end of that, not or else. There's just nothing said there, but it's implied that she would go after Rosita, and then she follows up that by telling her, I'll shoot you last. And I just thought, this character, man, Rosita, just becomes more and more fascinating to me. Think about that psychology, she knows that Rosita knows that Waverly is not quite human. This is how Waverly's sister is talking to her. Waverly's sister just basically straight up told her that even if you help me, I'm going to still eventually have to kill you. And that's just how this is going to be. And it was really kind of a cold Wynonna moment. It wasn't like a badass moment. It was just like that was an Earp moment.
No, it was rude as fuck. Like, but I like the fact that Rosita kind of clapped back at her and was like, you don't need to threaten me. You can just ask. Because she's done, action-wise, Rosita has done nothing to really upset anybody. She's saved so many people so far, and she's been kind, and she doesn't talk crap, and she's been trying to be helpful and trying to be a friend. And so in this desperate moment, because Wynonna still has her thing with Doc and is upset about them kind of dating without really being upset, to be like, oh, well, instant go into this Revenant mode, like, oh, you need to help her. She's like, I'm her friend too. I've been friends with you guys. Like, do that.
Yeah.
And okay, there's kind of two branches with the Rosita thing that I want to speak to about real quick. There's the dolls branch and the relationship with Rosita and him, and the Jeremy branch with Rosita and him. I'll do Jeremy first because it's a little less intense. I appreciate Jeremy highly in this episode. I don't think people really saw what he did, because this is the first huge character development for me I saw with Jeremy, who wasn't being the flirtatious, bumbling sidekick. This is the first time I saw Jeremy be pissed off and be upset, and actually his personal morals felt attacked, and he kind of clapped back, if you will, at people who were going against it. He did not want to stick Rosita with the serum because he's like, this is not fair. Just because you can't die doesn't mean you don't feel it. You know what I'm saying? And Doc said that actually to Wynonna. Also, the idea that when Waverly was in the hospital and the mug broke, he's like, it's okay, we can fix it. It's no big deal. It's just a mug. And his compassion with her, even though he was being silly, he's like, she's gonna die. Like, he's very matter of fact. He's a scientist, so he's just like, well, yeah, right now she's dying. Let's not sugarcoat it, And I thought that friendship that he has with Rosita, you know, showed through with Waverly as well. But like the idea that he was so upset with having to use her as a guinea pig and use dolls as a guinea pig. I like that when they finally caught the widow, he turns to Wynonna and goes, "Oh, we will talk about this later." You know, he actually got in her face and was like, "This is not okay. I am not okay with this, and this conversation will come back later and we'll discuss it." Because like he wasn't having it. And I thought that was a huge character thing for Jeremy to stand up like that, because that was the first time I didn't feel like he was a coward. You know?
Yeah, he was brave in the right moments. I felt like, if you think about it, Wynonna is surrounded by this like makeshift family. But from what we know about this family, you have Waverly, not quite human, right? We have Dolls, who is a dragon. We have, until this episode, Doc being this immortal man with this ring on his finger with a property given to him that makes him not quite human. You have Mercedes, Ned, to a point, being not quite human. You have Rosita being not quite human. So the only humans that there actually are Jeremy and Wynonna, and they both have polar opposite ideas about what humanity means, because Jeremy hesitates to, you know, test the serum on people he considers a part of his family, whereas under duress, Wynonna doesn't hesitate to do that. And I feel like for Wynonna, she's going to have to make a decision sooner rather than later about what it means to be human and whether she accepts these people or not, because it's becoming more and more blurred in the longer this gets dragged out. Nicole is human. There.
Yeah, and see how that was working out for
I
her.
forgot Nicole.
Yeah.
But it's about 50-50 of the people in her, half the people in her life are not human.
I was going to say more than 50-50. It's more like 85, the rest of 85 demon or some kind of weirdness, the rest human. No, but see, you're right, because, okay, so going on to the dolls branch of Rosita, because that has so much to do with what you just said, the idea of the blurred lines. I was liking Dolls, and I got that he was the police guy and, you know, the military man, and then this dragon thing. What I'm waiting for people to acknowledge, or even Dolls to acknowledge, is that he's a revenant. Like, the thing is, the gun, when he's a dragon, glows. Peacemaker glows, which means it can kill him. Whatever is inside of Dolls is a revenant. So Dolls is not just some kind of random animal. He is a revenant. It's not like he's the demon, like the devil in the pawn shop, where his eyes turn green and he's a devil. No, he is a revenant. They're orange, you know. The gun lights up for him, you know what I'm saying? Saying that this is a bad thing and needs to be killed. So the fact that Dolls is so hateful towards certain revenants is kind of worrisome. So the Sandman, yes, he got used by the widows under duress. He didn't want to actually put the town to sleep. He was threatened. He did it. Well, when Dolls, you know, found out, Wynonna was like, "Oh, I'm not going to kill him. They stole his daughter. Like, he didn't want this for his life." And he goes, "He's a revenant, put him down." And she shoots him, which shows that Wynonna doesn't really want to shoot just any revenant. I mean, if he has a good case. The guy who got sacrificed to open up the eggs in the first place, she wasn't going to shoot him either until, you know, and she let him go. She knocked him out, but she let him go, and then he was found dead later by somebody else. So Wynonna knows and has a morality gauge of when to not kill revenants. I'm starting to worry that Dolls is going to be more problematic than helpful, because he's stealing, once again, it's about trust. He's stealing Rosita's phone, oh my gosh, her book of notes. He knows that she's a revenant. He knew she was a revenant. He figured it out because he was stealing her notes. He has this anger with revenants. Like, she's a good person. She's helped him survive, and yet he doesn't trust her. You know, Jeremy trusts everybody, because he sees ahead of time. He's like, no, she's cool. He's good. Don't do that. Don't do this. So he's cool. But it's messed up that Dolls is starting to show he has this untrustworthy side to him. You know? Yeah, he'll save Nicole, but like he also doesn't care for Rosita's livelihood, the fact that it hurts or whatever. You know, I don't know. He with the brotherhood, I kind of want to just go into that. It's just like there's a lot of anger there that Dolls has towards Revenants and maybe being a Revenant, and I find that fascinating.
Yeah, I think, okay, just to bring us to a to bring us to some of the smaller plot lines that happened. The only surprise I walked away from this episode was the fact that Nedley didn't die, because there was like a lot of speculation if he was going to make it through the episode. I enjoyed the actress who plays Mercedes' performance quite a bit when she was beating the crap out of Nedley. I also felt like I didn't really like the snarky dialogue that Nedley had when he was taking hits. There was too much bravado for me. I just felt like I don't mind him not giving away his truth and keeping the secret, but I just thought it was like a little too much bravado in the moment. And I loved, though, the entrance that Wynonna made with the truck, and I loved the setup where she's like, do you think Wynonna's gonna be there for you? She's never there, you know? And then she just comes mowing through the truck with Doc. I thought that was fabulous. I just didn't really particularly like Nedley's dialogue. I love that Nedley had the ring. I love that he put it in his cup. And again, I mean, I didn't really want him to die, but at this point I didn't really care either way, because this character to me is kind of like the one thing that I like. He's the man between Nicole Hott becoming sheriff and remaining a deputy, and I'm much more interested in seeing her become sheriff. So I think that's the bigger story to tell. So, but I thought it was clever that he had the ring, and I like that Wynonna's her line where she's like, I'm the only one who's allowed to, mess with Nedley. She had a fun line there, and I liked Doc. I liked him helping her out. She had another line in this episode that I loved when she was looking for the cure to the venom, and she's like, Doc could find a dildo in a nunnery. That was one of my favorite things she said this episode.
Yeah, this whole setup was actually pretty good. Starting back from when Wynonna needed to go talk to Doc, they were having that argument after the last episode, so he's all pissed off and whatever. And I love the fact on Doc's case that Wynonna goes, I don't give a damn what's happening. Nicole's dying, and he goes up, and I'm up, and I thought that was awesome because
yeah.
No matter what fight they're having, it stops when the family's in trouble, and I thought that was great. Getting to Nicole's house and tracking, there's so many things I love about Doc, that he's closer to Nicole than we realize. He knows Calamity Jane the cat, he knows what size hat Nicole wears. He's a hat man. He loves his cowboy hat. I love that, and I thought that was fascinating. Their setup to getting to the barn, I thought was absolutely such a gentle, precious moment of, he goes, what's going to make you stay here so I can deal with it, And she's like, pretty much nothing. And he's like, fine, we can go. She goes, I'm in the driver's seat. Physically and metaphorically, I love that line, because she was actually in the driver's seat. Also, she's just in the driver's seat of this whole relationship and situation, which I think is great. Also, the idea that Doc and her had this cute little exchange of like, my tracking. She's like, if I didn't know better, you're trying to get me pregnant again. And I thought that was actually a super cute moment. He's like, well, my tracking skills are very fertile, that kind of thing. And I was like, I love that moment. I thought it was so cute. Mazel tov to Tim, because during Whiskey and Donuts, the conversation, the hangout after the show, Tim came on, and he was talking about jumping over the truck, and he said he did it in one take. I mean, I don't know how truthful he was, but they're like, we want you to jump over the truck and do some kind of badass shooting thing. He's like, all right, we'll try. And because he has a bad back apparently, so he's like, well, we'll see what happens. And he did it, and he said got it on the first time, so they used it. But I love that. I love the energy and the excitement that busting through this barn to just like completely decimate, Mercedes' widow is great. Nedley, I like the fact that we've given Nedley no credit. The guy knows more about the town, and he keeps saying this. I know all kinds of stuff. He's like, I just learned how to keep my mouth shut and watch. Be a watcher, not a doer or talker. The fact that he was a sheriff, he has a life outside of being Sheriff Nedley, and he's a strong guy that we don't give credit to. She's just whooping his ass, and I appreciate that everybody, like I said, in this show, when their back is turned, they make jokes as coping mechanisms. That's part of Emily's thing, and that's just kind of how they've portrayed everybody. That's why Nicole over here being pinned down, she's like, I'm really an IKEA girl, that kind of moment, and like just jokes kind of happening with Nedley, and I thought it was kind of funny, oh, that's kind of kinky. Are you sure you're not the real Mercedes? I was like, that's a great line. There's like one or two lines I was like, it could have been better writing. Like, what are you, a witch or a Pokemon? I was like, I get it. It's a little, not necessarily dated, but like Pokemon, I was waiting for something else. But I liked it because it showed that he was thinking about other things. He wasn't thinking about the pain. He wasn't thinking about what's happening, because at the end of the day, we didn't know he had the seal. We found out later. So the fact that he actually did have the seal and didn't say anything is huge. I thought that was like people were calling him Nedley instead of, and it's like that shows also that actor. I was waiting for him to get killed, not because I wanted him to be killed, but I thought that they were going to use his body for Clutie. And then I was in my head was like, oh man, I can completely see evil Sheriff Nedley, because how nobody disappears on this show. Instead of him, like Nedley might have died, but he came back, which would have propelled Nicole to be sheriff. But that's besides the whole thing. But I liked it. I liked this moment, and I liked, I even liked the fact that as soon as Wynonna shows up, and it's like, I want my Nedley back. She goes, you did a good job, and he's like, thanks. Can I go to the hospital now? Because he finally was able to just go, ow. Like this all really sucked,
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think that is pretty much like the last point I had for tonight. Do you have anything else?
Oh yeah, I have a ton of other things that I want to mention. Okay, so just the idea that Waverly was saving Nicole versus waiting on Wynonna is a huge thing. I cannot wait to see how that plays out. Poor Wynonna. I mean, she like skipping down the hallway all excited to give this antidote because they finally caught, the widow, and, was whooping the widow's ass, which I thought was great that she didn't, kill her. She shot her in the leg or whatever. But man, the look on Melanie's face when it switches in her mind from, yay, you're alive. Wait, how did you get alive? And then she looks at, Waverly, and she just sees the decision that Waverly made. And then she just goes, what did you do? And that heartbreak of, you did exactly what I was hoping you didn't do. Also, you couldn't trust me. You could not trust me to save your girlfriend. You couldn't trust us. You couldn't trust the family. You just had to do it on your own. That's heartbreaking. And her leaving, and I kind of looked at Kate's face in the back, like, does she understand, like, something went, like, holy crap, Waverly did something not right, and that, oh man, that was such a hard thing to see. And I was like, damn, that's gonna be really a messed up conversation. I did kind of mention a little bit, I just like the moments that Nicole, the fact that she told the wife about Waverly, which to me shows that she is already in her mind making plans for other things with Waverly. She's concluding that past life that she had to try to make room for a new one, which I think is great. The iron and the blood. The iron was a huge thing as well, and that's going to come back to play later in the episodes. The Iron Witch, we have iron in Nicole's blood. The plate that the Brotherhood give dolls most likely is iron and has something to do with this whole thing. Oh, Doll's backstory of him being kidnapped by BBD as a child. So he's been kind of forced into being this, not forced, but he eventually wanted to be an agent, but, kidnapped as a child. So he must have been a dragon child at a young age. Like, they used him, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's a part of his lack of trust and a lack of almost self-hate with other Revenants or people who are different. When you're trained and taught to be one way and then you realize you're in a different community, it's hard to accept the community you're actually from because you've been raised and taught to kind of dislike what you are. So I think that's going to be quite fascinating to see that from Dolls. Waverly making this wish, or not making the wish, I'm sorry. The Iron Witch going and getting the trophy, and that being her penance, or that's the debt that is paid. I was like, what? Emily say what? That whole section felt like a preview of next week, and then we got the preview of next week. They literally gave us 2 previews. Because to me, Waverly running off and Wynonna being mad about that in the office should have been the end of the episode. The fact that it continued with, I think, an added preview, that's what it felt like, was awesome. You see her go into Shorty's and be all bummed out and talking to the witch, and then Doc tries to intervene and he gets transported back to oldie times, and he's back in the well, which Tim, his expression in the well looked like he was a little boy back under the floorboards of his mom's house, and it was just so sad to look at his face. We don't know where the hell Wynonna, is mad at Waverly, obviously, and disappears while holding the plate once she, figures out what the plate's for. And that's wild. And then we see Jeremy, and Waverly's back in her Shorty's outfits. There's so much that got reset. And there's so many questions that they're going to have to try to muster. Emily just said they're not going to be able to answer them all in the next 2 episodes, which I appreciate, because at least she's not doing a Marlene King and saying she's going to solve all the answers and then leaves nothing to be solved. And that's the showrunner for Pretty Little Liars, if you don't know who that is. There's a lot. There's going to be a lot next episode. It's apparently not necessarily a filler episode, but it's going to be lighter because the finale is going to be devastating. So I'm looking forward to how they are going to incorporate this last 2 minutes of the show. Everybody disappearing. Jeremy's like, Jeremy and Waverly we got to get ready for the wedding. I'm like, who's getting married? Emily did say that Bilbo and Willow will appear in some capacity. So I'm thinking that next episode will be this, where it's like a dream, alternate universe place where Wynonna does not exist. It's going to be very much like the Buffy episode, so there's that, but not.
I'm thinking that the demon with the tail will come back. We might get some clarity as to what Bobo's been doing. And even though Waverly told Nicole about her cheating, I feel like I still like a conversation between them just to digest these last 2 episodes of what has been going on, just like a scene.
Oh, well, yeah, she didn't really tell Nicole that she cheated, but they definitely said, we're gonna have a sorry party and figure it out.
There needs to be some convo. There's I cheated, I got a wife. Those 2 things need to be talked out a little bit, fleshed out.
Yeah.
I also think that I really liked the tinge of resentment you get from Rosita, and I think my prediction is that she is going to become a darker revenant because of the rejection she's been given by this group in terms of being treated less than human, and the unethical treatment is going to weigh on her. And I think that combined with the brush off from Doc, because he, as Wynonna becomes more and more pregnant and the baby comes, that relationship will probably be less of his on the forefront of his mind. So I think those are my predictions for the next episode.
I get that.
And then I predict Waverly to be the one getting married.
Yeah,
but to whom, right?
I
Question
mean,
mark.
I don't know if
I think it's either Bobo or Nicole.
I think honestly it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a Willow wedding, and I think Waverly's gonna be a bridesmaid, and I think that in this AU, she's not with Nicole yet, but I think that Nicole is kind of fantasizing about being with her because a lot of the stuff that they have in promos looks like a lot of a dream sequence. So I think that, you know, Nicole is still like gushing over the shorties version of, you know, Waverly, and I don't know.
Maybe we're gonna get Nicole being married to the wife Shay, and that's like something that in this alternative reality is a reality.
Who knows? Somebody also pointed out. Somebody already posted that in the next kind of preview, Waverly was wearing the floral headband.
She's wearing a flower headband, yeah.
Yeah, not headband, but the crown or whatever, which sometimes people have seen as a marriage type thing. So who knows? It could have been in this alternate universe. I think Willa will return because she said Bobo and Willa will return in some capacity. I think Robert Sphene is going to be the one to find Doc in the well, and maybe that's his chance to redeem himself. I think Willa is back because if Wynonna never existed, that meant Willa never got shot, which also means that Willa's still the heir, which means Willa may have, in this alternate universe, broken the curse or whatever, is still dealing with it. So I think that, and she's might be getting married to Bobo, who knows?
So it's like a what if, you know, kind of question.
It's a what if. Also, there's a lot of things that don't already match up with the idea of, because they flat out said the Iron Witch pretty much said she doesn't exist. It's not that they just don't remember her. She just never existed. That's how she set it up. And the problem with that is Waverly would have already been dead, because if that's the case, as a child she would have drowned when she fell through the ice, because Wynonna was not there in the past to tell Bobo to save and to be Waverly's guardian angel. So there's already that issue. There's the issue of she would have also, if she would have made it to adulthood, you know, who knows? Maybe even Waverly would have still gotten hung in season 1 by those bandits that tried to kidnap her. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's all kinds. Waverly was in a few dangerous situations last season, so I feel like that would have happened. Her name wouldn't have been Waverly because apparently Wynonna said she's the one who thought of her name. So it's like there's things that are gonna have to just be let go. In the idea of, if Wynonna didn't exist, would her father still be alive? Are we gonna see her father because she wouldn't have shot him? Would Willa have been taken? Would her mother still have been there? Like, you know, there's 100 gajillion different reasons and things that won't match up. We'll just have to suck it up and be okay with it. But yes, as far as this episode, my brain hurts because there's so much that I still want to talk about, and there's so much that I think are hidden messages and clues, and I think Waverly just made everything so much worse, and I think there's going to have to be a point where people acknowledge Waverly making mistakes, and she has to acknowledge that every time she goes with her emotions, something bad happens. You know, we're going to have to figure it out. So I can't wait till next episode. It's supposed to be a little lighter, which I'm looking for a little bit more levity, because I think it's just been a lot. It's been a lot. I loved it. My mouth was open on the floor the entire episode. But it was a lot. Any other thoughts there, Jen?
Yeah, I think that you made a really cool music video, and if anyone wants to hear what Adair's Broadway voice sounds like, there's a 2-minute video up of Adair, and check that out.
I mean, it's nothing crazy. I just put a song that I sang over some Waverly Way Hot feels. So you guys can check that out on the page.
So if you want to feel warm and gushy after this episode, some bonus added feature. I mean, I thought it was lovely. Do you feel warm and gushy,
or do you feel
I did. I've already listened to it like 3 times.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I did. I thought it was you did a beautiful job with that. I'm so happy for you.
Jen is 3 of the 6 people who watched it, so thank you there.
No, actually, hello. Right now, as of right now, there's probably about 600 people who've watched it.
Oh dear.
So
Those are all my mother, guys. Those are all my mom.
And Jen.
And Jen. My mom and Jen. It happens. Thanks, Mom.
Different
Thanks,
IP.
Jen.
Different IP addresses. Well, so I have a request. So if you guys like that video, be sure to like and subscribe to us. And if we get to 500 subscribers, Adara is going to release another video of her fabulous Broadway over the best of Wynonna Earp season 2, and the song will be TBA. So there it is. That's the challenge I'm setting. We'll see what happens.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds fun. Yeah, let me know. Are there songs that you want to be... You know what? Yeah, let's get
Actually, I have a request already. Your version of Jolene. Oh my god.
Well, there's that. But I want to see what you guys have to say. If you have a request of a song that you want to be put in a video, whether it be Wynonna, things like that, let us know. Because that's just fun. Let's make some fan art and fan music videos.
It makes our shipping hearts so warm.
And because, you guys, we only have 2 more episodes, and so we're going to want to just fill up the hiatus with just so much fun and love and creativity. So let's get that going. You know, it will be fall soon, and we'll have to deal with the cold and being in our houses. So why not eventually just enjoy each other's company by making and creating things, and we can just be awesome with your suggestions and things that you want to see. Maybe we'll get that done. Make sure to send any requests and things like that. You can either put it down below in the comment section, or go to our Twitter at whatabout_dat. We're there having a good old time, guys. Good old time. Every Friday, I'm live tweeting and just cracking up with all the other Earpers, just like mind blown. There was a lot of gifting this episode, a lot of F-bombs dropped, a lot of O's.
From Adair.
I dropped the F-bomb like we're about to drop nukes. Like, that's how bad it was. It was just like left and right.
That's not funny.
Oh.
I'm scared.
And that's the truth. And so, yeah, definitely hit us up, guys. Also, Jen, where else are we at?
We're on iTunes, and you can put us in your ears, take us to the gym, take us shopping. We would like to do all those things with you, but be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes.
That is a true statement.
Or you can get the show with pictures on YouTube. Either way.
Yeah, we do, like, you know, the YouTube is more like a slideshow with audio cues or visual cues. And the podcast is just us babbling on being ridiculous. So I hope you can babble and listen along with us. Have a great night, guys. I'm glad we all got to talk about this. I still need therapy after watching that video. And we'll see you next week for more shenanigans. And hopefully way how it feels. So it's true.
Yeah.
Have a good night, guys. Bye.